Hi everybody, it's Abby Cooper and Lewis Cooper, who is over here somewhere. I think he's over there. Yep, there he is. But I'm over here today by my bookshelves because an awesome video watcher named, I think, Abby, you have a great name, by the way. Let it be known that there is an actual other Abby. I'm not just making this up and like it's me, Abby. It's like another person named Abby who watched my videos and was like, hey, could you recommend some more middle grade books for me to read? And me, Abby, was like, yeah, because I love middle grade books. In fact, I read a lot of them and I write a lot of them. And I would be absolutely delighted, Abby, who's not me, and anybody else who's watching, whatever your name is, I would be delighted to share some more middle grade book recommendations with you today. I've been reading some really, really good ones lately. So good timing on asking for this video, other Abby, because I probably would have made it anyway because I'm like super excited about these books. Now, before I get into telling you the books that I've read lately, one thing you should just ask yourself, whoever you are, when you're thinking about what you want to read next, is what did I like recently that I read? This is always a really good place to start when you're trying to decide what you should read next. In case you don't know, I used to work in a school library as a school librarian, super fun, and that was something I would ask my students when they asked me what they should read. Because the books I'm going to share with you, I really like them. I think they're really good, but you and I, we're different people. You might like what I like, but you might not. And so it's really important to think about what you might like, in addition to listening to me talk about what I like. So, think about what you've read recently that you liked, and then the next question to ask yourself is, what did I like about it? For example, maybe you just read Harry Potter, and you really liked it. Cool, me too. But maybe you actually are not that into wizards. I mean, maybe you think wizards are cool, but what you really liked was the whole adventure aspect and how it just like was really fast paced and a lot of stuff happened pretty quickly. Well, not quickly. I guess they are pretty long, but still, they're long books, but like stuff pretty consistently happens. So that's really important to think about because then, you know, maybe you don't want to look for another wizardy book. You want to look for a book that's more action-based. So just something to think about, what books you've liked recently, what you actually liked about them. That information can help a lot when figuring out what to read next. And if you have this information but you still don't know what to read next, this is awesome information to bring to a teacher or librarian because they'll know what to do because they know stuff. Okay, moving on. Back to me. I just finished this book yesterday. It's called A Good Kind of Trouble, and I loved it, like a lot. It's about Shayla. She is in, I think, 7th grade. Yes. And she's so cool. I kind of want her to be my friend. There were a lot of different things I liked about this book. I really liked that there was a big focus on friendships. Shayla's friendships are kind of changing, but sort of in different ways than you read about in a lot of books. You know, her friends, they're not necessarily like becoming cooler and ditching her and stuff, but they're just sort of kind of trying to come into their own identities, just like Shayla is. You know, they're looking maybe for new friends or new opportunities outside their regular friend group. They're just trying to figure out who they are, sort of the same way that Shayla is. And sometimes you can do that within your own friend groups, and sometimes you need to branch out a little bit. So I like how this book shows Shayla and her friends kind of all figuring out where they belong. Shayla tries a lot of new things in this book. She discovers she is fast at running and likes running, and so she goes out for the track team, and she has to do the hurdles, which, oh boy, have you ever done the hurdles? They're hard. I mean, they're probably not hard for, like, professional hurdlers, but she's not a professional hurdler. She's, like, a runner who's being forced to do hurdles, and it's hard. Plus, the girls on the track team are not always the nicest to her. They kind of make fun of her. This book also has a lot of crushes and relationships and questions like, what do you do when you like somebody who doesn't like you back and maybe kind of likes your friend? Or what do you do when You don't really like somebody who does like you. What do you do when both those things happen at the same time? Ah, poor Shayla. It's all happening. Another thing Shayla has to figure out is how she feels about events going on in her community. This book really takes a good look at current events that have happened recently in communities around the country. This book takes place when an unarmed African-American person in Shayla's community has just been shot by a police officer. And the trial of the police officer is sort of going on in the background throughout this book. Shayla's sister becomes really active and involved in protests in their community. And Shayla, who's just kind of been in the background up until now, starts to take an interest and, starts to wonder, like, how does she want to be involved here? How can she help? And what do you do if what you think is helping ends up sort of getting you in trouble? So A Good Kind of Trouble really takes a look at a lot of different things going on in many current middle schoolers' lives. So it's a really good one to check out. On the same lines, New Kid, so good. This is a graphic novel, in case you haven't seen it. Came out a few months ago. It's awesome. It is about Jordan, is our main character, and he's going to a new middle school where he is one of the only African-American kids. And the book is just really cool. It takes a look at, of course, starting middle school, which is challenging for anybody and everybody. But it's also especially challenging for him. Being one of the only African-American students, sometimes the teachers sort of look to him to answer a question they have about Black history or something. He gets sort of, not picked on, but he gets kind of called on a lot for things that shouldn't necessarily be his responsibility. So Jordan kind of has to figure out how to be true to himself and where he really fits in, because he doesn't really feel like he fits in at his new school. He doesn't really feel like he fits in at home anymore, and it's a lot for one guy to figure out, but this graphic novel does an awesome job taking us on Jordan's journey. Another book I read lately that I loved is called Over the Moon by Natalie Lloyd. She's written so many great books, and this one is no exception. Over the Moon takes place in a world where girls and boys are regarded very differently. Girls are supposed to clean and actually be like servants and like clean other people's houses, not even just clean their own house, while boys go off and have adventures and actually do work some dangerous jobs. Really, nobody has a great setup in this book. But one day, Mally, the main character, learns that somebody is recruiting boys for a dangerous mission. However, the dangerous mission involves really big, giant bags of money. I don't know why I said giant bags of money, just like a lot of money. Like if they do a good job, they get a lot of money. And Mally is really inspired by that because her family doesn't have much money and they really, really need some, because if she cannot pay back the debt that the government says they owe, they are going to take her little brother, who is just cute and sweet, and they're going to take him and make him work a very dangerous job. And she does not want that to happen to her brother. So she decides, even though this dangerous mission is only for boys, she is going to do it anyway. Yeah! And guess what? She goes out there, she tries the dangerous mission. Turns out she is awesome, even better than some of the boys. Of course, this doesn't mean it's easy. She is being asked to do some really, really difficult things in this book. Almost impossible things, it can feel like. But she really rises to the challenge. And when she does, she discovers that things in their world in general may not really be as they seem or as they've been told. This book sort of reminded me of The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill, because it's really about a girl who dares to ask the question, why do we do things the way we do? Just because this has always been done this way, or it's always been this way that we know of, does that mean there's no better way? Or why are we sticking with something that isn't good? And she really dares to ask those questions. Those can be scary questions to ask, and even scarier questions to actually do something about. So this book is so cool because Mally not only asks the questions, she goes on an adventure that ultimately could change her world and her family's world and their world over the moon. One last one for right now. This book actually came out last year, but I just love it so much, and I don't think I've shared about it before. So it's called Stanley Will Probably Be Fine. I love the cover, isn't it? It's fun to look at. And this book is about a guy named Stanley who is like nerdy in all the best ways. He loves comics, and his dream is to like go to this big comics convention, which sounds awesome, but also terrifying for Stanley, because Stanley deals with anxiety, which means for him, you know, there's a lot of different ways anxiety can impact somebody, but for him, he gets very overwhelmed in large crowds. Lots of sounds kind of freak him out. I get you, Stanley, because I am the same way. And he faints during an assembly at school for those reasons, basically becoming just like so overwhelmed. So how the heck is he going to go to this comics conference? Oh yeah, I forgot. Sorry, it's been a while since I read it. I'm just peeking at the back. There's a trivia quest that he can win in order to get tickets to this comics thing and win back his best friend who he's been having problems with. So Stanley really needs to rise to the occasion here. And he makes a new friend named Liberty, who is a really unique character. I haven't read a character like her in any other book. So cool. And they sort of come together in order to help Stanley tackle his fears and manage his anxiety enough to accomplish this goal and to get to this event that he really wants to get to. Love this book. All right, my friends. I hope this has been helpful. Go forth and find an awesome book that makes you excited to read. If you absolutely have no idea, or if one of these sounded good, get one of these. But otherwise, just read in general. There's so many good books out there just waiting for you. Yeah, if you want, leave a comment down below. Let me know if there are any other awesome middle grade books that you've read recently that you would like to pass along to Abby, who is not me, but also Abby, who is me, because I'm always looking for recommendations myself. So tell me what to read, and I'll do it after I read all of these in my to-read pile. Okay, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next time.